Welcome back to Two Rail Fans.
We finally have a layout update for you guys. I know it's been a while, and we said, oh, we're working on the layout, working on it. And finally, we were able to get the rest of the foam down over on this end of the layout. So we're going to start this update video just with a little tour of what we have, what stage we're at here. And Dave and I are just going to kind of go to the sides here out of the way. So I used 3 different techniques for going over the foam. And just to clarify a couple things ahead of time, there is going to be a fascia board right here. So that's why I'm not continuing down here. I'm just continuing over the edge. Also, there will be a connector back here, which is why I haven't continued to the edge. So basically, when you see a blank, I don't even know if you can see it on here, a bare spot back there in the corner, that's going to be covered up. There will also be a backdrop back there so we can hide from Mrs. Railfan the plaster that got on the wall. So the 3 different techniques we use. I tried using the plaster cloth and spraying on because I've heard that is the cleanest technique to use. And we did that on this other section over here, on the back section with the doubled up foam that you've seen before. So I decided, well, I'm not going to do that because honestly the holes were huge and it didn't stick very well. So I tried using plaster cloth again, but dipping it in the hot water. And while it stuck a lot better, you could still see a lot of holes. So what I ended up doing, based on a recommendation, is using these with plaster Paris. I mixed it at about 1:1, and as it started to thicken up, I would add a tiny bit more water until it wasn't usable. So I think that worked the best, and honestly that was by far a lot cheaper because one roll of that plaster cloth is, if I remember correctly, about $10. And this huge jug is $10, and I got a 6-pack of these for $10 as well. So that not only did it work better, I think it's also covering a lot better. So what we had to do is cover up also, you see in the back there where we have the risers coming up here, the incline. You had to make sure that gets covered. So everything's covered up. I had taped over the track. So the track, other than a few spots where we had a few whoopses, I say we, but I can't blame David because it was all me, right, son? Yeah. The track is clean, so I'm not worried about the cleanup. But the other dilemma I had is these little plaster flakes. When I was cleaning up today that came off, do I get out Mrs. Railfan's vacuum cleaner and vacuum that up when it's still tacky? Yeah. Or do I make a little more work for myself later and not have Mrs. Railfan upset with us? So I decided to wait till later. So it's still kind of messy back here. Not too concerned about it. Most of it is just loose flakes that came off the tape as I pulled it up. So I think we do have enough of a surface here that we'll just be able to paint and put our terrain on there and cover it up. But if there's anything else we need to go back over, we can certainly do that. So the next section, I didn't quite get this far today. The next thing to do over in this section, once we get the painting, and David is going to start ballasting. Did I leave that tool out? I did not. He's going to start doing that this week. We are going to also, even though we're still going to need to have it removed, I'm going to get this piece put in place, the lift out. So we need to get this in place so that we can lift that out and start kind of planning this. This is where most of the buildings are going to be. So I also in this section finished putting back in the ties and the gaps. So David and I are going to try and get that done this week. That's all inside the house work, so it shouldn't matter how hot it is. Mm-hmm. But here, come back over here, son. So I promised, first of all, if you guys haven't checked out Gil's Trains, I think you should check it out. He has some cool backstories for some of the buildings and characters on his layout. I'll put a link to his channel in the description of this video. But he has one of these lifelike churches on his layout. And I told him I would show him what it looks like when a dog gets a hold of it. So if you want to hold that up, David. This happened about 20 years ago. I haven't been able to bring myself to throw that away because this is one of the first buildings I ever got. And you can see
The dog clearly likes
there's
grass.
not too much left to it, although I think I'm finally ready to throw that away. So there's a couple pieces not on this currently, but we bought this at a train show last year for $5. Also, I do have that piece. So I think I've seen it online on sale for $30 of the Atlas Church building. And come on back over here, son. So I think I'm finally ready to let the old church go because obviously it's not really in condition to be on the layout. So once we get this piece in place here, then we can work on really trying to figure out the layout of the city here. Most of the buildings are going to be on this part of it. That's going to be more industrial on the other side. So I feel like we finally crossed a hurdle in prepping this for scenery work. David's going to get to work on the ballasting, so we're looking forward to getting that done. Hopefully our next layout update, you'll see a lot of changes over here. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for our next update here, and hopefully we'll have a lot to add over here. So until next time.
Signing off.